Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and this is Tom Clark's Main Event. What's up, kids? Welcome back to the program. If I seem a little subdued, it's with good reason. If you saw the graphic at the front of this show, then you know we're going to pay some respects today to the late, great Jay Briscoe. Am I fuzzy to you? I have this all the time. I seriously got to work on my equipment here. Phil knows what that's like, having to work on a set equipment and get things to where you want them. Usually I don't have a lot of issues up here, but lately it's been hooey. I didn't have a time to run a quality check today here, kids, today either, but we'll get it. For people tuning in, there's my thumb. You're welcome. Happy Friday to you. Hope you have a great week. I've had a really good week. I can't complain other than some of the news we're going to talk about here today. It's been a good week. As you guys know, if you're fans of the pro wrestling business, then you've been affected deeply by what's happened this week. So we're going to get into it. Before I bring our guest online today, let's talk a little bit, or let's say a few hellos. Robbie, what's going on? First at the table, how you doing? Ray, all day, what's going on, dude? Rebecca, good to see you. Christopher, what's up? E, how are you doing? Jeff, what's going on, brother? Sugar, Shane, how you doing? Double V, Victor Vasquez, how you doing? Good to see you. Where are you, Keith? There you are, Keith. Good to see you, my friend. Gary Benfield here, folks. HVW owner and promoter. Please welcome him to the show. Alma, welcome to the show, my friend. Jumpin' Jeff, you're here. Carlos is here. Please welcome Bruno Royce to the pod, folks. We'll be seeing Bruno at some point in the next several months back with HVW. So anxious to see him there. That's the rumor anyway. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and bring on our guest. And I don't know that he's fuzzy. No name calling. I'm fuzzy as crap. So we'll see how he looks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Bleacher Report and Tom Clark 6M podcast fame, and also Grapsity. Let's don't forget that one. It's kind of a big deal. Mr. Phile Lindsey. Phil, how are you, my friend? Good to see you, dude. I had me try that again. Phil, good to see you, my friend. Sorry about that.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. It feels like, I had this great intro. You blew it. You had me muted. I'm not going to go through it again.
Yeah, no problem. Wish it was better circumstances, of course, but, you know.
Of course, yeah. It's always a shame when we say goodbye to someone from this space, what I'll call it, from this world of pro wrestling. It's a wild, wacky world filled with some wackadoodles who just want to argue and people who just want to cause trouble. But, you know, behind it all are real people, real men and real women who are raising families and who are paying their bills and trying to stay safe and healthy and just put on a show because they love doing this. They love the business of professional wrestling. And Phil, you and I both have ran into and interviewed people over the years. This is all they know. This is their entire lives. So it's a really big deal. And it's called the Brotherhood for a reason, kids. It really is. The brother mentality in pro wrestling is a very real thing. And so when we lose someone, it's a really big deal, as you know. By the way, I got to put this. We got people telling hello, telling Phil hello. Kids, you remember Phil? Phil, you remember kids. Please, everyone, make Phil feel welcome. Ray says, I was in Chicago running the marathon. Hey.
Oh, cool.
Ray all day's a runner, that guy. Can't keep him down. Yeah. So as we kick off here today, Phil, how many times have you seen them boys in action? I mean, less than 10, more than 10? How many times have you seen them over the years?
Yeah, I wasn't a, ROH original fan. I of course knew of them. I've seen their work with Ring of Honor and some other promotions. I was lucky enough to be at Supercard of Honor last year to see the first FDR and Briscoes match, and it was just like I don't know, it's just an electric atmosphere. It's one of the best matches I've seen in person. Um, and now I just feel very lucky that I was there to, see the first part of, what ended up being basically their send off as a tag team, sadly.
Yeah, I think I've seen them. It's less than 10. It's less than 5. I think I saw them live 3 times. And I'm like you. I'm older than you are, Phil, but I wasn't what you call an original Ring of Honor fan. I was very aware of them, but as is the case with a lot of the startup promotions, I'll call them, you couldn't exactly find them on your TV dial anytime you wanted to. When they first got into business, it was all like direct to video. I think it's how they made the bulk of their money at that time. So I wasn't really attached. And then when they finally got on TV and real players, so you could look them up, look up clips. Oh, this is where some of the big time guys are coming from now. So yeah, we're there for a very, very long time since Ring of Honor. Something to be said for that. Gary is, as we know, kids, is a long time wrestling promoter here in the Carolinas. Some humbled veterans I met, or few I've ever met, excuse me, Jay 2 weeks ago about coming to the new HVW Showdown series this year. Yeah, they humble. I've heard many times through the years, and you and I talked a little bit off mic the other night about how the whole chicken farmer thing was a shoot. That was the real deal. That wasn't some kind of weird gimmick that they were running. It was real life for Jay and Mark. Phil, you're probably way more connected in this story than I am at the moment. Has anyone said anything about Mark? I assume that Mark is quiet on his socials, that he's not said anything. I mean, I assume he's there in the thick of it as he should be. I mean, has he commented to anybody? Do we know anything like that at all?
Yeah, I haven't seen any updates about Mark. I hope that he's doing all right, as best as he can be, losing a brother. Um, it just always came across on screen how close they were. Uh, so, just wishing him the best, wishing their
It did,
family
and
the
such a
best.
good tag team too, for sure. If I understand correctly, both of his kids were in an accident, and I think that the story is that Jay, of course, and someone else was killed in the accident. I don't know if we know who that someone else is. And was both of his daughters involved in the accident, or do we know that?
Um, I I'm not sure. I thought I read that his two daughters were in the car. Um, the other person that passed away was the other driver, correct?
I think you're right. Yep. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. And don't quote me on this, kids, but I saw some blurb the other day on Twitter. You know how everybody talks, but something to the effect of that the driver of the car, that they were smoking it up or drinking it up on their socials or something, and like that was the person that hit the family. I don't know. Again, that's just I never clicked through to see if that was the case or if that was somebody just making up a story. I don't know. Um,
Yeah, I don't
Either
know.
way, it's
I
a
didn't hear
shame.
anything about that.
So there, evidently, yeah, it came and went very quickly. There had been an online fundraising campaign for Give Send Go, or forgivesendgo.com, I assume. The goal was $200,000. It's still going. So they've already met the goal and then some. Good for them. And if anybody wants to give that, I would encourage them to. Here's the latest. And I don't know how, this is still a very, very serious situation for this family. We want to be as respectful as we possibly can. I'm not going to read word for word what's been reported, but I will point everyone to Wrestling Observer, figure4online.com. People can take a shot at that if they want to. I don't really care. In my opinion, they're one of the more reputable sites, but you can laugh that off, folks, if you want to, I suppose. But supposedly, again, I don't want to attend here, but Jay's 12-year-old initially lost feeling from the waist down, in addition to compression on her spinal cord. She'd been transferred to a different facility, started feeling back in her thighs, but nothing yet. On Wednesday, his other daughter was indeed involved, suffered fractures of her tibia and fibula, all surgery. And again, that's all I'll read. unfortunately, as is the case in this business, we have had to report on wrestler deaths attributed to drug addiction and alcohol addiction and lifestyle and various other horrible, horrific things through the years. But you know, in rock and roll, it's much the same way, right? I mean, we hear those stories for years, but then you get a case like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and you're like, he died in a helicopter crash, like that's. And then here we go with Jay in a car crash. Unfortunately, I mean, uh, it shakes you to your core, man, when you really think about it. It seems like once it hit the net, it out within a matter of hours, wasn't it? Because it was everywhere at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw like little rumblings about it at one point, and then the next thing I know, Tony Khan put his tweet out, and then it was everywhere.
Yeah, I think Tony was maybe the first official voice, if we can say the first official voice to kind of put it out into the ether. Um, yeah, I see folks talking about the injury, and I don't want to get too intense on that. Um, Phil, one of the stories that's come out since Wednesday's Dynamite, I like you, I'm sure, and like a lot of other people, were anxiously anticipating the 10-bell salute and graphics and a lot more than just a few armbands, a lot more than just casual mentions. There's a story that's come out now about Warner Media having an issue. Is there truth behind this or what?
Um, I'm not sure. I the first person I saw to report that there was an issue was Meltzer, I believe, and I'm not sure if it's confirmed yet. It would seem to line up with some of the other stuff we had heard, and uh, just the Briscoes not being allowed to do anything on AEW programming to promote the ROH shows or promote the title matches with FDR. Um, I hope that's not the case. That would seem pretty petty to continue that on after the man had passed away, especially when there are other egregious things on your network. Um, yeah, I hope that's not the case. I don't know of a way that that would be confirmed, of course, because they're not gonna just come out and say it.
No, it's if it turns out to be true, shame on them. And we could all maybe throw a say, why can't you just, who cares what they think? But Tony's in the spot too, where maybe he doesn't have that kind of stroke, or he can't just do what he wants. I mean, how fair would it be for people to kind of take a shot at Tony and say, don't care, don't worry about what the network says about this?
I mean, he's not gonna screw up his TV deal. I mean, I understand people are upset, but I also understand that he has to keep a good working relationship with Warner Media.
Yeah. I don't, again, if it turns out to be true, shame on them. The man's gone. You and I got that too. It's like things he's past, they were ridiculous. Grown men should not walk around having such ridiculous, outdated opinions. However, um, why even bring that up now at this point? Why even remember him for that? Um, Matt's heart, only he knows. But it seemed like he was sincerely apologetic and realized he said some stuff and had made every advancement toward sort of having that from his record, so to speak, and sort of moving on from it, was genuinely apologetic. I don't know. It just does seem ridiculous that they would hold out that long. Here's the take I have for you. When I saw that the 10 bell wasn't good, and I kept thinking, it's odd that they're not saying more about it. For me, I immediately had the thought of, besides the Warner stuff that may or may not be true, I immediately had the thought of, well, his kids are still in intensive care. Is it tasteless to do that right now? Like it just happened. It literally just happened. Maybe we don't kick the show off with a 10 bell and have everyone with their heads bowed and like, these kids are still fighting. Maybe we don't do that. That was kind of my takeaway. And if that had been the intention, I think that would have been fine, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't immediately think about it that they didn't give him a 10-bell salute. Of course, that would have. It feels like that was the right thing to do. Um, but I do think that it is good that they're doing a tribute show for him, and it's going to be free online. I do think it's good that they're recognizing him in some way. And I'm assuming we're going to get something else, probably a Supercard of Honor as well.
Yeah, supposedly the show's going to be on Honor Club, which I had for like 3 years. And when Khan bought the company, suddenly it went away. And then if you wanted to watch the Ring of Honor pay-per-views, you had to pay for them. I'm like, wait a minute. I paid $80 a year for this service. Like, what are we talking about? But,
Yeah, so
it is what it
apparently,
is, right?
you still have to pay for the pay-per-views, but Honor Club is just for the library and the stream, like the weekly programming.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. I'm glad he's reviving it. I'm glad it's going to be shut down full time because it is very cool. It's like anything else, man. When you have this massive library, it deserves to be seen. It deserves to be seen.
Yeah.
What do you think, dude, about God, we go straight from talking about what happened and the shame of it to talking about legacy, but it feels like that's going to be part of the conversation here, right? I mean, what do you think about the legacy of, let's talk about Mark and Jay in a moment. What about Jay as a singles wrestler? What do you think about his legacy? Because, dude, by himself, he was fantastic. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that I saw someone else say that if you really look at his body of work, Jay is probably the best ROH wrestler ever. I mean, just because of what he did as a tag team wrestler, what he managed to do as a singles wrestler. And it's kind of hard to disagree with that because he did have a run as world champion. He's a 13-time ROH world tag team champion as well. He's won numerous titles all over the world, but I feel like if you're an ROH fan, like it's hard not to acknowledge how much he did for that company.
You know what? I'll take that. Yeah, but of all time, yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure they had many nights of matches where they got no money or got $20, as a lot of guys did when they came up in this business, and then hit big later. But they stayed there for the duration. One of the things about Jay that always struck me, and Phil, this, his promo.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to show 12 of them here today, but we can't do that because people pull your stuff down because they need money. I get it. But Jay was one of the best promos in this business. I mean, you could make the case that as a tag team, and you, Mark, in the ring, no question, one of the best tag teams that I have ever seen. Fluid. They didn't have to talk to each other. I'd rarely see them speak to their opponents. They were just so good. I mean, you can make the case, greatest tag team of their generation. I'll buy that. But also on the mic, how many tag teams were that good yet could kill it on the mic as well, that were that good? I mean, dude, are they perhaps the best on the mic in terms of tag teams of this generation as well, you think? Who else next to them?
I definitely think that they changed the dynamic for tag teams a lot. I think there was a certain generation where we got used to tag teams with like great mouthpiece in front of them, and these guys didn't need a mouthpiece; they just spoke for themselves. And you could definitely see their influence on a lot of tag teams now. Like the Usos are a big one. Like you could definitely see the influences from the Briscoes on the Usos. The Usos are kind of like if you like made this perfect combination of the Bucks and Briscoes in some way. And so I think the Usos are also great talkers, but again, you can see their influence from the Briscoes.
And we'll never get that match now, which is a shame because, Briscoes versus the Usos, Briscoes versus New Day. Whew, man, what we could have seen perhaps in another world, another universe, maybe. This would make perfect sense to me. Gary says, I don't know how true this is, but read one time that Briscoe's farm was funding ROH. I'd buy that because ROH is not. How many years have ROH actually been profitable? I don't even know the answer to that.
I don't know.
Makes you wonder. Marie says, absolutely best on the mic. That had me sold in the media promos alone. 100% agreed. Is Jay underrated on the mic? We talk a lot about it, but I mean, Do you think he will get his due now? Which sounds morbid, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just curious.
Um, I don't know that he was underrated. I just think that because ROH was a lesser known company, a lot of people weren't as familiar with him as some others. And I think that's the sad thing about this as well is that I feel like Tony buying the company and having that feud with FDR exposed them to a new audience, and they're not going to get a chance to, see the fruition of what they did this year. Because I really feel like last year they had one of the greatest tag feuds of all time.
Yeah, them boys and FTR, holy God. Um, these guys could have been working each other for the next 2, 3 years and still would have made magic. Um, in a somewhat related note, did I see the FTR are taking a hiatus? Did I read that correctly somewhere? Is that true?
Oh, I think they were taking time off anyway because that's where it seemed like it was going with them losing all the tag titles. And it seemed like they were going to take some time off after Wrestle Kingdom anyway. I'm not sure if the two are related.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Are they heading back to the other company?
I don't think they are. I think the whole contract thing is a work. Um, because the people that think their contract is up in April, I am not sure that that's true. I actually think their contract is up next year.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't want to see them go back for purely selfish reasons. For purely
I
selfish reasons, I don't want to see them ever go back. I just
I will say this. I think the big hint that they're not
mm,
going anywhere is that Dak's doing the stuff on his podcast where he's talking about how much he would like for the Bucks and Punk to do business together. And what I immediately thought was like, all right, well, Punk is still injured. If Punk does somehow come back, he's not going to be back by the end of April. And so I feel like in order for them to see, the fruits of that, they would have to still be there, right?
mm, good point. Here's a good one. Gary says they're doing a 1-year tour of the indie circuit. I've got that from a reliable source. That would make a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. I like to see it. I think there are a lot of tag teams that they could work in indie promotions. And I think there'd be a lot of interest in them doing that and then coming back to AEW and finally getting that AEW tag titles run again. Well, a second one.
Yeah. Dude, it's amazing how, again, it's off on a side topic, kids, but it's amazing how it seemed like with FTR, we went from talking about, man, did they make the right choice? They're never on TV. They don't have the belts. They're not winning all that much. And then fast forward like 6 months after those complaints, they had 3 sets of championships and were traveling the world and going to Japan. And like, I was there a button pressed? Was that always the plan? Were they just being patient? Because I really don't know the answer to all that.
Yeah, I don't know. It does seem like the face turn helped them a lot. The new music and presentation helped as well. Um, for my money, FTR was the best tag team in the world last year. I think they had at least like 5 must see tag matches last year.
Yeah, they were fantastic. That face turn went over so much anticipated in the beginning. I don't know if it even worked for them, but man, it worked so well. The Brits are great antithesis to FTR, and it's like much the same way. I don't know if I would compare FTR and them boys to the Rock and Rolls and the Midnights. I don't know if I'd go exactly to that comparison, but it's true in as much as both the Rock and Rolls and the Midnights were technically sound and very good tag teams, but from a aesthetic perspective, they couldn't be more different. Like you look at FTR next to Briscoes, they look like they're from two different sides of town, right? It was kind of like the same thing with the Midnights and Rock and Roll. So, is that one of the reasons why, in your opinion, they gelled so well?
I'm not sure. I think FDR has a resume of working well with other tag teams from NXT and then coming in and working well with some tag teams in AEW. I think one of the best things about the Briscoes is that they know how to make a fight look real. Like they are very good at, doing the spots and also, making a brawl look legitimate as well. And so I think that's part of why the matches with FDR were so good because it felt like a real fight. But it also just had this atmosphere to it. Like, man, just being in that crowd for Supercard of Honor and just hearing the dueling chants before they even touched each other and just like, it just was a magical feud, man. You just can't force that kind of stuff.
Man, that would have been an amazing thing to see. I was at the Crockett when they faced the Rock and Roll Express, and like Briscoes are cheered everywhere they go. But you put them in front of Ricky Robert, North Carolina. I mean, you can guess who took the heat in that match, but man, they wore it so well and made Ricky and Robert look so good. I mean, it was such a fun match to watch, dude. I agree, my friend. Both are phenomenal single wrestlers. And let's give
Dax
Mark
had a
his just
tremendous
dessert.
year.
Like, he did. He did for sure. Oh, man. He was showcased like when Cash had that horrific injury when he went over the top and his
Oh, that was scary.
it pinched him. Oh, my God. That's so. Whew. I mean, the fact that he didn't have nerve damage from that is kind of shocking to me.
Yeah. Whew. Glad he's okay. But yeah, Dax had a tremendous year.
Yeah. Kids, let's reset the space here quick. If you are just joining us, we are talking about Jay Briscoe, the late great Jay Briscoe. If you notice a lag between my field station, we got signal issues. I'm gonna assume they're on my end. I assume they are. Sometimes I have crazy signal issues on this side. Please bear with us. Thanks for being patient. If you are here and have not smashed that like button, please take care of that for me and share this feed on your Facebook pages or on your social channels. That would be greatly appreciated. Phil would appreciate it also. Phil's charging me a lot of money to be here. Okay? I got to pay the man. Phil's not holding his breath to get paid. I promise you that. He'll pass out. Let's see. Sugar Shane says, I like to compare the Briscoes and FTR to the Moondogs and the Fabulous Ones. Oh. Really, really freaking like that. That's better than the Rock and Rolls and the Midnights, actually. But I will say them boys are much better workers than the Moondogs. How about that? But from a physical standpoint, I see what you're saying. I feel that. By the way, for Mark Briscoe, what was always known was that Jay was kind of the Shawn Michaels of the team. For lack of a better comparison, he was the star, and Mark was not bad. Dude, Mark in the past like 5-10 years, 5-6 years, whatever it's been, that dude is one of the funniest guys, and his promos are nuts. And like he and Jay being so like Jay's intense, all like that, and Mark's funny, it just fit. Like, I don't know if Mark gets his just due, man, with that redneck kung fu and all that stuff he was doing in the ring. It was so good. We're going to miss both these guys as a tag team, man. I'm not asking you to speculate. It's way too soon. If anyone's doing that, shame on you. But I'll throw it out there to you. I'm going to miss Jay and Mark together. You don't need to speculate. I'm trying to imagine a future where we see Mark Briscoe as a single star. What's that look like? Can he do it? I don't have an answer, man. Have you thought about that at all?
No, I haven't thought about it. I don't know. It's just so hard to think about ROH without them as a tag team right now. I don't know, because that's just been such a big part of the brand's identity for so long. It's just crazy to think about it. But then again, I think that's just so indicative of how much they did for the company.
It's like imagining the Jazz without Stockton and Malone, right? It's like it's not the same team. Like the minute those two guys left, it's like it's not really the Jazz anymore, is it? Like that was years ago, kids. But still, if you have to realize how important they were to that team, they were the nucleus of that team. Without them, there's no team. Honestly, at that time, so
weren't Andre Karolinko fan?
I'm not saying I'm not, but I also can't say that Ghoster Tag kept me around all that much. Who else was on that?
Had a very cool
Ghoster Tag, and
who else was on that team? Carlos Boozer.
There
you go. There's a Utah Jazz player.
Well done.
Carlos
I can't
Boozer,
remember their players now. There was
ended up being the Chicago Bull for a few years. Um, the point guard for the Utah Jazz. He ended up being on the Nets for a while, and he just completely just completely fell off a cliff. Like he was so good for Utah, and then he went to the Nets, and he wasn't nearly as good. Um, God, what's his name? I'm picturing
I
his
don't want to look
face
it
and
up. It'll make
everything.
me crazy. Yeah,
I'm picturing his face and
it'll make
everything. I
me
just
crazy
cannot
till I
think of
think
his
of it.
name. Like I'm thinking of all these other point guards that played there, and it's not them. God, Darren Williams. There you go, Darren Williams.
Darren Williams. Yeah. Um, I'm getting older, Phil. I used to know all the players on that team in those few years with the Jazz, man. Um, let's see. Sugar Shane says, I know it's way too soon, but what happens with ROH tag team titles? That's,
Mm,
and I mean no disrespect by this, but that's easily fixed. I think that you run a tournament and perhaps you even have a Jay Briscoe Memorial Cup tournament, perhaps something of that nature.
yeah, I
Um,
mean
if I were
AEW
Tony
has it.
Khan, I wouldn't touch that at all right now. Would you just leave it alone?
Yeah, I wouldn't. Not anytime soon. I mean, of course, you're gonna have to address it closer to April, but I think they're fine for now, and I wouldn't worry about who is gonna hold those titles. They've got a deep division over there in AEW. You've got guys that are great tag teams that are not even on TV enough that you could easily just move over to Ring of Honor and use them there.
100%, 100%. Yeah, Shane pulled us out. I could not remember Hornacek's name, and there it is. It was driving me nuts.
Not a lot of jazz
I
in
remember
Utah.
Jeff Hornacek because when he would shoot free throws, yeah, yeah. If you've seen basketball, you know how they summarize the teams moving across the country, and they said, the New Orleans Jazz do Utah, or they don't allow music, which always makes me smile. So. But I remember Hornacek when he would shoot his free throws, when he'd go up to the line, he would do this. That was him saying hello to his kids, because his kids would say, when you shoot free throws, or can you say hello to us at the game? He's like, I can't just stop what I'm doing and say hello to you in the camera, so I'll do this, and that'll be my way of saying hello. It's one of those weird little nuggets I've never forgotten. So
Yeah.
this is a great comment. Mark eating a coop in the background of their videos. So good. I mean, if Jay was Chuck D, Mark was his Flavor Flav. Can we just be honest? That's kind of the dynamic we had there.
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, just really gonna miss those two
Let's
guys as a
see.
tag team.
Chad says, I say retire those belts as Briscoe belts forever and get the new belts. You know what? I'm okay with that. Because it's the same championship, actual physical belts. Retire them and come up with a new design. I think that'd be a nice, classy touch. I think I'd be okay with that totally.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea because they've been still using the classic ROH tag title belts recently. So I think it would be a good idea to really redesign all the belts, and this could be like the starter of that.
Yeah, I'd be good with that, honestly. Yeah, again, it's a shame. We've lost a lot of people. I'm trying to think back, and I don't want to think about it because it'll bring up all us thinking about everyone else we've lost in the past couple of years. But who was the last wrestler that we lost that was like active? Do you know what I mean? Active, working today, on TV recently, still with a lot of years left to go. Wasn't retired, wasn't whatever. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last wrestler that we lost. I'm sure there's somebody, but I can't remember for the life of me who I'm thinking of.
I mean, I think the closest we have is Brody Lee, but Brody Lee was off TV for a while too.
Brody Lee. True.
And of course,
Yep.
we didn't
Well
know
done.
Brody Lee was sick as well.
They kept that very quiet. Jeff, Eddie is one, but I don't think Eddie was the last one. Neither is Brian Pillman. I don't think. That's going back a long ways.
Don West was a
Yeah.
recent one as
I mean,
well.
again, it's true. We can't possibly do this guy enough respect, but it's nice to at least think back and talk a little bit about the guy and what he business and everything that he brought to the table. His dedication, his work, he and his arguably the best tag team of their generation. I would submit one of the best tag teams of all time. And I one of the things that Jim Ross said years ago was, how do you measure who the best tag team of all time is? Well, who made the most money? And I'm inclined to agree with that. I know there's other stuff we talk about, but at the end of the day, this business is about making money. So who was best tag team of all time? Road Warriors, without a doubt. Because everywhere they went, they got the belts. And everywhere they went, they got the biggest payday of everybody. Oftentimes bigger than the champion himself got that night because they drew a house. And what makes you valuable these days, Phil, it's different. There's streaming services. There's TV like crazy. There's free TV. There's YouTube. What does it even mean to draw a house anymore? What does it mean? Well, so-and-so sold out. Well, did they really? Like, or did fans come to see the entire card and not? That's kind of hard to gauge these days, isn't it? That's kind of hard to measure now, right?
Yeah, because I mean, we're at a time now where they don't sell WrestleMania based off the matches anymore. Like the SoFi Stadium has been sold out for months, and we don't know any of the matches on the card yet.
Yeah, and The Rock has supposedly come out and said that he's basically not in good enough shape. He doesn't have time to get in shape. And we're like, what? What? You know that I mean it's been a year. Rock, it's been a year. What?
Yeah. I'm of two minds about that. Like either he's working and he is going to show up, or he's basically saying like, yeah, I have time to do everything else. I have time to hawk my Terramana tequila. I have time to, do all the publicity for Black Adam and do all this other stuff. No, I just don't have time for wrestling. That's what I'm telling you. I don't have time for it.
Yeah. Look, this guy's chilled out of granite. He lives in the gym. He'll die in the gym one day, I'm sure. And that dude, that's all good with me. I totally get it. But like, as everyone should know, being in weightlifting shape is not pro wrestling shape. It's not the same thing. It's just not. The cardio's different. The routine's different. The workout's different. It's not the same thing. So everybody looking at Rock going, you can work. I bet you can get Rock blown up in the matter of 3 minutes right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he is conditioned to work, and you also have to understand the last time he had a big match, he got injured. So it was like a bad injury as well.
It was, yeah. Cherie saying the same thing. Rock works out how many hours a day? He can't get in the ring for a few of them. Well, she kind of got a point, Phil. I'm just saying.
That's why I told you. It's not that he's saying he doesn't have time to get in shape. It's that, no, I don't have time for wrestling. Very intentionally don't have time for wrestling. But I don't know. He could be working as well. I don't know.
And, this is, and we'll go ahead and open the floor up, kids. We've got about 14 minutes at the top of the hour, so we might as well go ahead and open the floor because we kind of steered off topic, and that's fine. But, one of the things about Rock is that, and I'm going to pose this to you, at what point does that company stop going back to the well, Phil? Will they ever stop going back to the well for these big shows?
Let me see. Never. Never. No, they've made such a big deal out of the Attitude Era. They've made it known every chance they get that was the boom period for wrestling, and that was like their creative peak, which I don't agree with. Of course, it was their most lucrative time as a company. Nobody could deny that. The numbers are there. But creatively, I don't agree. And the matches since then are absolutely better. But I think that was such a different time period. There was such a, I don't know, there was such a craze around wrestling at that time that has never been reproduced. And so I feel like they keep trying to reach back and get those fans to come back. And so they're never going to stop bringing guys back like The Rock and Austin and whoever else they can get to come back.
Marie is someone that I will count as I don't want to say prophet because that's too weird of a word, perhaps a protege. She makes me proud. I could hug her because this is what I've been saying for years. I feel a lot of us have. Eventually, there's not going to be they don't make new stars. If you take that comment into consideration, there will become a time when there's no one left to pull from. Because, Phil, I got for you. Oh, this is good, Phil. In 10 years, are we talking about, guess who they're bringing back for WrestleMania? Elias is coming back. Oh, no. Is he going to be there? I mean, are we really saying that in 10 years? Be honest.
WWE stands for Who wants to walk with Elias?
Oh my God.
It's kind of crazy when I think about it that Elias hasn't been champion yet. Not like world champion, but like he hasn't even held a mid card title or anything yet. He hasn't been tag champion. That's kind of wild when I really think about it. He's been on the main roster for a long time.
Yes. Listen, kids, that's no disrespect to Elias. The dude's doing what he can do and does what he does. And I applaud the guy for doing everything asked of him and doing it to the best of his ability. This ain't about the guy and the character. This is about how they treat that character like a freaking idiot, as they are known to do. I mean, I don't think of Elias as a star any more than I think of myself as a star at all. I just don't. And if I met the guy, I'd be very respectful, obviously, but I would not. Oh God, it's Elias. Now, Punk walk the room. Holy God, it's Punk. I would. But Elias, But Phil, also, he's not being portrayed in that light at all, is he?
No. I think Elias is a fun character, though. I think that in 2018, that character was hot. The promos were good. Him coming out and doing the bit was working. They did that like fake documentary on him on a network that was hilarious. I like Elias a lot. I just think that they didn't strike while the iron was hot. And yes, he was 24/7 champion, Jeff. We don't talk about
that. Shout out to Jay and Troy at the Untitled Wrestling Podcast. When I tell you, don't worry about it. So that's kind of their catchphrase. So I'll take it from them. We've got about 10 minutes. We've got the floor open. What do you want to ask Phil? I'm here all the time. Someone hit Phil with a good question. I'll take this one for you there. I know this is off topic. There is talk of Street Profits may join the Hurt Business. Is it good or bad for them? Phil, take that.
I don't think that they should do that. I think if anybody joins the Hurt Business, it should be Omos because it makes sense because MVP is managing him still. But I don't think you need to add any and all black wrestlers to Hurt Business because it kind of dilutes what they are. I think you should get the original members back plus Omos if you can.
Is that, I don't know what to call that, Phil. I was going to ask you if it's weird. I mean, we got to remember what company's doing this gimmick, right? And the track record there. But this has become the black faction, for lack of a better word. But why does it have to be that? Like, I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing about it, other than the fact that all the members of Hurt Business are black, nothing about their presentation has anything to do with race. Their entire presentation is that they're businessmen and they're about their business. They're about their money. That's it. There's nothing about this that explicitly says this is a black group, other than the fact that all 5 of them are black.
So maybe the fans are the ones doing this. Maybe it's our fault to begin with.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that try to make them into the new Nation of Domination or whatever else. And MVP has spoken on that. I thought his tweet today was very funny when people were saying that this person and that person should join Hurt Business. And then he just listed all these people that should join. Like, let's just add all the wrestlers. Let's add Asha, the referee. Let's add Tavia in talent relations. Let's just add everybody.
The guy, what gets him the coffee? Let's put him in too.
Yeah.
Let's
just
add Dan. He gets the coffee. Let's put him in. Kids, you've been waiting for it. Here it is. Ray All Day's question. Nas or 2-pack? And part 2. You, dude, Ray, you're hitting a rut, dude, because you put in Pete Rock and CL Smooth almost every week. All right. So, or Tribe Called Quest. He does. And if Adam Cole came to your house with LeBron James to see a private screening of House Party and said you can bring a friend, could I come? And after one to get Beyond Burgers and fries, could I come as well? This is for both of you. All right, I'll take it. I'll say Tupac, and I'll say Tribe Called Quest, and then I'll say yes to both. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Nas, and I'm gonna go with Tribe Called Quest. Adam Cole seems great, and you know, as much as I, as a Bulls fan, would love the chance to sit next to LeBron during House Party and make jokes about how terrible this movie looks. I don't know, man. I'm gonna just say yes because it might be fun to just sit and watch this movie and cringe at how bad it is with LeBron sitting next to me.
Yeah, I don't. Ugh, man.
Boy,
I
it
don't know
looks like a
why we
bad movie.
continue this how to put pro athletes in movies and think it's a great idea. Yeah,
It does not look good because I mean to me the appeal of House Party was all the other characters other than Kid and Play. It was all the comedians that were in it that were legitimately funny, and it was all the music. And we don't get any of that in this version of House Party.
100%, 100%. Marie says Street Profits are so different than the other members of her business they wouldn't fit. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they fit.
yeah.
I
I
think they're
just I don't know if I can. Can you even imagine them as heels?
I can actually imagine them in heels, but I just I don't think they work. I mean, can you imagine them just deciding that Montez has to stop doing like the cup and dancing and stuff and he has to like wear a suit now? Like, I don't want to see him do that. I just want him to be Montez.
Instead of the red Solo cup, he's got like a glass of champagne, like an actual glass.
He should just if he joins Hurt Business, it should be like a 1 week thing. And instead of the plastic solo cup, he should get like one of those ugly pimp cuts, and he should just start dressing like Bishop Magic Don Juan, and that'll be the thing that gets MVP to just kick him out of the group. Like, get out of here, enough.
Oh. Now, I can get behind that. If they add Street Profits to the Hurt Business and change their names to Pope Sweet Jesus and Lord Have Mercy and start dressing them like that, I'd be fine with that actually.
Yeah, they should just come dressed
That's
in the most
fun.
ridiculous get-ups, and um, MVP is just like, yeah, no.
So they just pull a swerve. Oh, DDP's the NWO, and then he drops Scott Hall. Oh no, he's not. He swerved him. That would be fun to see. Yeah, that would be fun to see. So
It would be a funny gag for 1 week, but I don't know if I want to see them in the group full time.
oh, Shane's got a good Shane. I'm assuming you're meaning if we call a show. If you could host, are we talking about calling a show? Because I can call a show. So Phil, you'd have to be my color guy. So you'd have to be a little heel. You'd have to have some edge to you. So what show you want to call? That'd be fun.
Um, I would love to do. I would love to do like an indie show more than anything, like something, like
Hmm.
man, like something in Atlanta, like a. I mean, I went to a Battle Slam show over the weekend, and it's kind of like a mix of like hip hop and wrestling. That'd be cool to commentate that.
There's, I love commentary, dude. It's a blast. Timothy
Ah,
says San Antonio next week. Rumble.
I will not make it to San Antonio, sir. I'm sorry.
Tim had the party ready for you and everything. You're just not going to be there. Um, Phil, Phil, I don't know if you know about Brino Royce, but you should look him up. Brino says, Phil, opinion on black wrestlers prioritizing work rate over entertainment, not skipping entertainment, just work rate emphasis. How important is it that black wrestlers be allowed to wrestle and not be stuck in the singing and dancing category? And what's a good way you can think of to get to a happy medium between entertainment? Brino, fantastic question. Phil, this is all yours.
I think that is a great question because I do think that you have people like Jonathan Gresham who has brought up why is it that a lot of black wrestlers are not put in a category of the best technical wrestlers in the business or one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. And I do agree. I think that there should be a line where you allow the black wrestlers, to not just be athletic, because we hear that constantly, and just allow them to be great workers as well. And I think you're seeing that slowly change now because there's so much diversity now, and there's a larger wealth of talented black wrestlers. But I think it's kind of like the TV product. I think that depending on both companies, because I mean, as good as Carmelo is, for example, they still have to play up. But look how charismatic he is, and look how entertaining he is. And it's like, yeah, but he's also a very good wrestler. I mean, even we just mentioned Montez, and look at the things that are, highlighted about Montez. He's funny. He's very athletic. He dances. And it's like, yeah, but he's also a pretty good high flyer. He's got one of the best frog splashes in the biz right now. Um, and so, yeah, I do agree. I'm not sure where you find a happy medium because I do find that you have a Gresham, for example, and Gresham is very good, um, but he doesn't connect with a lot of fans, and a lot of fans don't see the appeal of him. Um, and I feel like that's a shame. I feel like one of the guys that I think is kind of a happy medium where he can do the character stuff and is subdued, and he's actually a very good technical wrestler is Lee Moriarty, but we haven't seen AW. I don't know. I feel like I hate to say this, but I almost feel like the difference is that a lot of black wrestlers don't get to decide what is their path as an indie wrestler first. Like just think of the Young Bucks, for example. Think about how much the Young Bucks career and how much their identity was built around BTE and a lot of other things like their stuff in Japan. So by the time they came to television, they had already cultivated a fan base. And I think a lot of black wrestlers don't get a chance to do that. And I think that's part of the disconnect.
I have my quick white dude answer, which is not going to be as well thought out as Phil's here, but come here, son. My quick white dude answer is we stop looking at wrestlers as being black and wrestlers as being white. Just look at them as being wrestlers. But I'm very naive and I want things to not be that way. But I'm one dude who probably can't change the way people are, unfortunately. So, Brino, to your point, I think maybe one of the answers is we all just do a little bit better. Maybe I don't know.
Are you saying that we all should not see color?
It's a scary, frightening new concept. I know.
Yeah, I do think that's part of it as well. But I do think there are a lot of very good black wrestlers that deserve to be in some other categories. Like to me, Ricochet rightfully deserves to be called one of the best high flyers in wrestling right now. Not just one of the best black wrestlers, one of the best high flyers in wrestling. And again, I think Jonathan Gresham is one of the best technical wrestlers in the world right now.
Kids, that was the boy. That was my kid that just came, and my audience knows who he is. I'm going to tell this story because I love this story because I'm proud of my kid. But we taught him at a very young age, and trust me, there's a point to this, folks. This is not Tom trying to score points with anybody. We taught him at a very young age, don't see race, don't see gender, don't see anything like that. So he has in the past been trying to describe a friend to me, and I legit don't know what friend he's talking about because he's got many. And so he'll get to the point where he's getting frustrated. He'll go, well, I don't want to say, because he don't want to say it's to buddy of mine. He's like, he don't want to say that because we've taught him better than that. And that's not for Tom to pat himself on the back. I'm just proud of that kid. And hopefully if there's enough kids like that walking around, that one day we get to the point where it doesn't matter, right? That's the point, is that one day it won't matter. Phil, to your point that, Ricochet's a black. No, he's just a wrestler. Can't we just say he's a wrestler and be done with it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see anything wrong with him being proud in this race and black people being proud of him as representation. But at the same time, I do think that he rightfully should be considered one of the best high flyers in the world. Just like I feel like the New Day should be rightfully considered one of the best tag teams ever, one of the best stables ever. And I mean, to me, Kofi's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And I feel like if I had a list of all-time great wrestlers, Kofi's on it.
Oh, dude, 100%, 100%. And it's a shame that we're still, as we said, it's a shame that we're still talking about stuff like that. And I haven't looked this up in a while because I tend to forget this, but I'm going to look this up because I want to get this wrong. But to your point about the New Day, they just missed it running faction, period, at this point. But number 2 is the New Day. And just by less than a year, it's the New Day. And they're still rolling. The Bullet Club beat them by almost a year. So think about that, Phil. For a trio and WWE to still be rolling is nuts.
Yeah. Boy, I miss Big E. But yeah, they've accomplished so much. They've accomplished way more than I expected them to when they were first introduced. Because I did not think that act would work, but here we are.
That act was hard to watch in the first few months, man. Oh God, it was tough to watch.
Yeah, but
those
three guys made it work. Yeah,
100%.
They should bring their podcast back.
They made it. Are we talking about the stuff that Vince's people won't let them do because they make money on the side? Or are we talking about something sponsored by the company?
Well, their podcast actually was on wasn't on the network for a while.
I think you might
So
be right.
so I think they had the approval of The Office.
Hmm.
And I actually know the guy that produced the podcast. And I don't know. I don't know what happened and why they stopped doing episodes, but it was a very funny podcast. That's where we got the big meaty men slapping me quote.
Ah, it's true. Yeah, it's true. I remember that. Oh my God, it's so good. Well, kids, we are a little about 5 minutes past top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and take this home. We started today at Jay and ended up talking about some other things at the end, and we took it home talking about great wrestlers and great tag teams. So that's a nice way to end this this tribute to Jay. Phil, before we get out of here, let the good people know out there how they can find you on social media and what you're up to right now.
You can follow me on Twitter at PhilDL616. You can also see me on Grapsity every Saturday at noon Eastern Time on Fightful's YouTube channel. I believe the audio version is available on all streaming services as well. You can also find my writing at Bleacher Report and Daily DDT. I just saw a random question out of the side of my eye. I think Kyle is still hurt. I don't think we will see Kyle O'Reilly for a while.
Oh, that's a shame. I love Kylie. Yeah, and kids, don't forget about Phil is my number 2 man. 9 times out of 10 on the 6M podcast. We just put out episode number 126 this past week, Phil. There's been 126 episodes. That is nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm proud of my little show. It's not breaking the bank by any means, but I didn't do it to get famous. I did to have really fun conversations with like-minded individuals who nerd out over geek stuff, which is what I thought. So in that regard, it's successful. So
we did a episode on Hellboy, if I remember correctly. And if you're looking at behind me, I have a Hellboy sketch on my wall.
Perfect. See there. It's good stuff. Phil, if you look behind me, I'm in Chicago last year at CM Punk's debut. So, or his first match in AEW. That's it.
Oh, at All Out?
So, yeah.
But you were there. You just didn't want to leave, huh?
I was there. Yeah. See, it was so much fun. Because we were, well, it's September, and we still had, not last year, the year before. Oh my God. Has it been that long? It's been that long.
Yeah, it's 2021.
It has been that long. Wow. Because I remember it was the largest crowd I'd been in since COVID. And so we were all masked up, or at least we were all masked up. But
should have been.
Yeah, man, that was a great weekend, kids. I'm just saying. Should have been.
No, it was a great weekend.
Yeah. It was very, very fun. So, well, kids, we're getting out of here. Phil, thank you, my friend, for joining at late notice. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon, dude.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
There you go, kids. My partner in crime, as it were, Phile Lindsey. Always a great time to talk to Phil and have him on the shows. And apologies for the wackadoodle signal we had going on today. Note to Tom, refresh the tech before going live, you doofus. So I'll be sure to do that next week. Kids, this was episode 296. We are 4 away, count them 4 from the big 300. We're going to have Phil back for that. We're going to attempt to have a screen full of people for that, and Phil will be one of them, hopefully, and we'll celebrate 300 episodes of this Ugg right here. So listen, guys, I appreciate your time. You guys are the best audience of all time. I wouldn't still be doing this, at least in front of public, if you will, without you fine folks tuning in and giving us the encouragement that we keep on putting forward. Thank you, kid, for being here. Thanks for supporting through good times and bad. Hope you've had a great week. Hope you have the best weekend. So, yeah, we're going to get out of here. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. And we will see you next time. Come back and hang out with us, will you? See you later, kids. Have a great weekend. Tom Clark's Main Event.